Hey guys! On a bright sunny morning, Spongebob and Gary were happily swimming in the jellyfish fields. That day, Spongebob cheered Gary up, telling him to enjoy the day, even though their trip had taken nearly an hour. Then Spongebob told Gary that it reminded him of the old days when he once gave him a little ball to play with. The old ball that had been kept for so long made Gary feel a bit disgusted. He hesitated for a moment, but Spongebob quickly took it back and threw it again. He spun his body, but the throw didn't go very far. Gary rushed to get the ball once more. Accidentally, it rolled quite far away and almost fell into a cliff. That, of course, made Spongebob panic because that ball was Gary's favourite. Luckily, the ball stopped right at the edge of the cliff. But out of nowhere, a naughty little kid kicked it, sending it straight into the abyss. Spongebob was shocked and screamed in horror. He quickly ran to the cliff, trying to calm Gary down, telling him not to be sad. Even though the ball had fallen deep below for the sake of their friendship, Spongebob and Gary jumped into the canyon to find it again. The cliff was extremely deep, but luckily, when they landed, they fell right onto a pile of hundreds of balls, so they didn't get hurt. The problem wasn't over yet because Spongebob had to find the right ball among all those piles. Fortunately, Gary spotted his ball lying near a heap of skulls, and Spongebob quickly grabbed it. Then, unexpectedly, a giant fish with glowing antennas appeared. The creature tried to eat them, but Spongebob showed it the ball, which made the fish amazed and stop attacking. When Spongebob and Gary tried to leave, the fish suddenly swallowed Spongebob's arm that was holding the ball. He was dragged through dangerous terrains, but Spongebob refused to let go of the ball of friendship. He would protect it no matter what. Soon, both Spongebob and Gary found themselves on the creature's back. The fish lost focus and crashed into a rock, throwing Spongebob and Gary onto the ground. The ball rolled away, and Spongebob quickly chased after it while riding Gary. They dashed through paths filled with skulls as the ball rolled farther away. But Spongebob and Gary never gave up chasing it. At last, their effort paid off. Gary caught the ball again. But soon after, Gary was snatched by a strange sea creature that looked like an alien. Spongebob didn't give up. He rode another weird creature that was sleeping nearby and chased after the one that kidnapped Gary. The chase began, and Spongebob swore he would never let his best friend disappear. Even under the sea, traffic lights still existed, forcing Spongebob to brake suddenly. He was thrown off but managed to keep chasing the creature that took Gary. It was a miracle. Just as Spongebob started to catch his breath, the giant fish returned and chased them again. It moved at incredible speed, catching up to the alien-like creature. The path ahead was dangerous, filled with underwater mines and bombs. The fish intentionally hit itself against the bombs to explode, but luckily, Spongebob and the strange creature survived. Eventually, because of carelessness, the alien creature hit a bomb, sending Spongebob and Gary flying down to the ocean floor. Their misfortune didn't stop there. They were swallowed again by a bizarre monster with an upside-down head and later expelled through its intestines. The ball rolled away once more, and Spongebob desperately went after it for the sake of their friendship. This time, it landed on the eye of a giant octopus, mesmerizing Spongebob with its size. The giant octopus revealed its massive form and grabbed a trumpet-like object, sucking both Spongebob and Gary inside, then blowing them out with such force that they were launched out of the canyon, Thankfully, they survived. SpongeBob was overjoyed that they had saved the ball again, but suddenly, the giant fish appeared behind them and bit SpongeBob. Crushing his body, SpongeBob handed the ball to Gary, telling him to escape. Even though his body was shattered to pieces, SpongeBob never forgot about his friend's safety. Unexpectedly, Gary didn't run away. Instead, he calmed the giant fish by swapping the glowing ball with his own. The fish smiled and let SpongeBob go. It then swam away happily. SpongeBob asked Gary why he gave their special ball to the giant fish. Gary simply answered that they didn't really need the ball, because what truly mattered was the memories they shared together. His words touched SpongeBob's heart deeply. He never realized how big Gary's heart was. Then Gary showed him a new blue ball. But once again, the naughty little kid appeared and kicked it into the canyon. This time, SpongeBob decided he would never go down that terrifying pit again. And that's how the movie ends, guys. Hey guys, one night that happened to be Halloween, Mr. Krabs' restaurant was fully decorated with spooky ornaments to attract the customers. Inside the restaurant, Patrick and Squidward were chatting ridiculously, laughing about silly things. Then the alarm clock started to ring. Not long after that, the sound of SpongeBob finishing his work shift could be heard. He came out quickly from the kitchen and cheerfully wished Squidward a happy Halloween. However, Squidward didn't really pay attention to him. SpongeBob and Patrick then changed into a half-seahorse costume, joining together into one silly figure. They both hurried towards Squidward, inviting him to stay overnight at SpongeBob's house to have fun watching scary movies. Their ridiculous excitement, of course, made Squidward feel disgusted. Moreover, the two of them couldn't stop daydreaming about enjoying that spooky night together. Until then, Squidward's previously gloomy face suddenly turned cheerful again because an idea popped into his mind. He told them not to watch horror movies, but instead to spend the night in a haunted place, saying it would be way more fun. Squidward secretly hoped SpongeBob and Patrick would just leave him alone. He also said he wouldn't join them because he had something else to do. Then Squidward told them to go to the Chum bucket, which he claimed was haunted. Before leaving, SpongeBob thanked him for the wonderful idea to have fun. They even hugged Squidward tightly, hoping he would join them too. Soon after, SpongeBob and Patrick arrived at the front yard of the Chum Bucket restaurant. The door creaked open by itself, with no one touching it. When they stepped inside, the lights flickered suddenly, and the door shut tight behind them. That made their fear grow stronger. Then from the kitchen, they started hearing strange noises, which made SpongeBob and Patrick quickly run to hide inside the bathroom. It turned out the sounds came from Plankton and Karen. They didn't like Halloween night at all, so Plankton activated the anti-fun lever to seal the entire building, preventing anyone from entering their home. But that wasn't enough. Karen also activated a tactical fog system to improve their security even more. Once everything was ready, she switched off all the lights, making sure no one could enter their house to celebrate Halloween. After that, Plankton hurried through his metal pipes leading to his bedroom. When he landed on the floor, Karen came over and lay down beside him. Meanwhile, SpongeBob and Patrick realized the place was now silent, so they decided to leave the bathroom. But as soon as they stepped out, they were completely shocked. The whole area looked terrifying. They instantly knew they were trapped in a haunted place. Panic took over, and they tried to rush back into the bathroom. However, the door wouldn't budge no matter how hard they pulled. Since the room was pitch dark, SpongeBob and Patrick took out their flashlights to brighten things up a bit. That gave them a little sense of relief. While confused about how to escape, Patrick suddenly pulled Squidward out from his costume. It turned out he had been carrying him the whole time. Squidward was stunned, wondering how he ended up stuck with these two fools. Furious, he scolded them for dragging him into Plankton's restaurant. Without realizing the whole place was filled with high-tech security systems, Squidward stormed off to find the exit. But as soon as he took another step forward, he was electrocuted by one of the traps. Karen, who had been sound asleep, instantly detected the presence of intruders inside their home. She woke her husband, who was still snoring, and showed him the CCTV footage. That's when they discovered that the trespassers were none other than Squidward, Spongebob, and Patrick. Spongebob, on the other hand, was thrilled. He thought Squidward had come along to enjoy ghost hunting with them. Realizing what was going on, Plankton decided to play along. He planned to scare them by disguising himself as a vampire. After putting on his costume, he used his usual steel pipe route to travel secretly through the building, followed closely by Karen, who also wanted to prank the trio. Meanwhile, down on the lower floor, Squidward was trying to open a heavy door to escape, but the door was locked with an advanced security system. As usual, Spongebob and Patrick started panicking and rambling nonsense, which only made Squidward even angrier. His temper flared as he yelled at them for being so childish. Not long after, Plankton and his wife began their spooky plan. They unleashed various frightening tricks, and seeing that, the three friends screamed and ran around in terror. Their plan, however, looked ridiculously chaotic. Karen was supposed to play the ghostly part while Plankton controlled the machinery, yet somehow it ended up reversed. The tiny Plankton was the one holding the heavy control device that operated Karen's body. Squidward was in complete disbelief. He never thought the restaurant would turn out to be truly haunted. At first, he was only trying to fool Spongebob and Patrick. Then suddenly, one of the doors burst open, and the three of them rushed inside, only to fall through a trapdoor. Plankton, exhausted from operating the system, accidentally caused Karen to fall down too. But he grew excited when he realized they had entered his underground laboratory. That meant he could scare them even more freely now. Inside the pitch-black lab, Patrick accidentally pulled a lever that switched on the bright lights. Amazed, they both thought the room looked awesome, like finding a hidden treasure. Without hesitation, they started pressing random buttons on the machines, having fun without thinking about the consequences. Their craziness didn't stop there. They kept pressing buttons, completely unaware of what they were triggering. Because of their foolishness, the high-tech machines began to react one by one, showing strange signs of activation. A loud and eerie voice suddenly echoed. It was Plankton's terrifying roar. That sound made all three of them freeze in fear. Then Plankton and Karen appeared in their monstrous forms, revealing themselves to scare the intruders. Spongebob, Patrick, and Squidward screamed and bolted in panic. Before they could get far, Patrick gathered his courage and kicked the vampire Plankton straight across the room, sending him crashing into the machinery and breaking several devices. The damage caused a massive electrical surge, sparking wildly across the lab. The ground began to crack open, forming a gaping hole that connected to something deep below. That hole soon became a portal, an exit path for unseen astral beings trapped beneath the building. Ghostly cowboy spirits started floating out, one after another. Plankton complained that the restaurant he had bought cheaply long ago was actually built on top of multiple burial grounds. As the ghosts kept emerging, some looked like humans, others like animals and prehistoric creatures. The entire place filled with eerie laughter and chaos. The ghostly souls began to celebrate, drifting through the air in excitement. The sight terrified Spongebob, Patrick, and Squidward, who immediately decided to run for their lives. But escaping wasn't easy. The spirits had gathered together, blocking every way out while haunting and taunting them mercilessly. At last, the five of them, Spongebob, Patrick, Squidward, Plankton, and Karen managed to flee from the underground lab, chased closely by the howling ghosts. The mischievous spirits didn't stop there. They continued to play pranks and attack, just to keep the group terrified. The haunting didn't end there. The ghosts became even more playful, throwing things and chasing them all over the place. SpongeBob's team was in total chaos, running in circles, not knowing how to escape. When they finally reached the main door, a massive ghostly worm broke through it and swallowed them whole, then spat them out outside Plankton's house. Thankfully, they were finally out of the haunted place. But it wasn't over yet. The ghosts didn't stop their mischief. They began tearing the roof off Plankton's restaurant. Once the roof was gone, the spirits freely flew out into the open sky. Soon, they started haunting the citizens of Bikini Bottom one by one. Even the children celebrating Halloween became victims of the terrifying invasion. What was supposed to be a joyful Halloween night turned into one filled with pure fear. In a flash, the ghosts had taken over the whole town. SpongeBob and his friends could only watch the chaos from afar. Plankton didn't seem to care much. What mattered to him was that SpongeBob and his two silly friends were finally out of his restaurant. But SpongeBob wasn't going to let things end like that. He pleaded with Plankton to help the townspeople get rid of the ghosts that were scaring everyone. Plankton refused, saying it wasn't his problem. Hearing that, SpongeBob came up with an idea. He would try to drive the ghosts away by singing. Before he could start, Plankton quickly stopped him, terrified of SpongeBob's awful singing voice. Left with no other choice, Plankton reluctantly agreed to help SpongeBob deal with the ghost invasion. After repairing his long-abandoned factory, he built a special machine to capture the spirits. SpongeBob volunteered to act as the vessel that would attract the ghosts into his body. Squidward, who secretly enjoyed watching SpongeBob suffer, didn't hesitate to press the ghost vacuum button. In an instant, all the spirits across town were sucked into the device, one by one entering SpongeBob's body. Once every ghost had merged inside SpongeBob, Plankton's final plan was to cut him open to end the haunting once and for all. That, of course, made the spirits furious. They shouted in anger, revealing that they had been restless for thousands of years, with unfinished business in the world of the living. Patrick then came up with an idea. To make peace with the spirits, they had to celebrate Halloween together. One by one, the citizens of Bikini Bottom were visited by the ghosts, who tried to scare them for fun. The plan worked perfectly. The spirits felt thrilled, especially since they received so many candies left behind by the frightened townspeople. Door after door, the ghosts knocked, creating a wave of funny yet terrifying chaos across the city. SpongeBob didn't feel guilty at all. He was genuinely enjoying the spooky night. Their bags quickly filled with candies of all kinds as they went from house to house. Eventually, their night of fun came to an end, and they returned to the Chum bucket. There, the ghosts expressed their gratitude, smiling with joy. After thousands of years, they were finally able to enjoy a Halloween night filled with laughter and happiness. Thanks to SpongeBob's kindness, they decided to cut ties with the mortal world and return peacefully to where they belong. At first, SpongeBob and his friends were happy too. They had collected lots of candies, but suddenly one of the ghosts flew away, taking all of their candies with him. Patrick was left deeply disappointed, realizing they would have to go trick-or-treating all over again to refill their bags. In the very last scene, Squidward planned to travel to the afterlife through the astral portal, but it had already closed completely. And with that, the film ended. The end, guys.